Hi, today I'm looking at the SOG Twitch II. This is model TWI-8, and there is a couple other knives released in this series of knives from SOG. I don't know if they're all still in production, but there was also the SOG Blink, which was a much smaller knife, and the SOG Twitch I, which is a little bit slightly smaller. That was kind of the order: Blink, Twitch I, Twitch II. This would be the Twitch II, which is for a while was the largest of the three. There's now an even bigger model, the Twitch XL. This is my favorite of the entire series, and I actually have a pretty long history with this knife. I have bought this knife 3 times. I originally bought it back in 2003, and I liked it, carried it for a while, didn't get much use out of it. I'll get into that in a little bit, and sold it. And then actually just last year in 2011, I decided, it had been too long. I probably sold it about 2005 after having not carried it very often. And then last year I bought one again because I kind of missed it and I liked the way that it carried, and it's, just as a novelty, just something fun, I decided to buy another one. I actually carried it for a couple days and decided I was dissatisfied with it and returned it. And then oddly enough, it's like I can't get rid of this knife. A couple days after I returned my second Twitch II, I was at a yard sale and I bought it again. I couldn't pass up the deal. The gentleman was selling the Twitch II and the Flash II. See if I can zoom in on that title there. SOG Flash II. This one being the combo edge, of course. And I got both of these two together for a very nice price. For the pair, it was $35. And I couldn't help myself. So once again, for the third time, I am the owner of a SOG Twitch II folding knife. This knife is AUS 8 on the steel. It's got an aluminum handle, and of course we see there it does have a pocket clip, and that mounts to the one side only, so you have right hand pocket, tip up carry only. Which for this particular model, I think it suits it well. I mean, unless you're left-handed, but for myself, it carries perfectly in the pocket. Very comfortable. It is an assisted opener. It uses SOG's SAT, SOG assisted technology. So you push on the little kick, as they call it, or flipper, on the back of the blade, and it flicks it out the rest of the way. And it is a lockback. And they call it a pass-through lockback design, which is that the lock bar actually sits, well, let's see. It's actually almost hard for me to describe. Maybe I'll just kind of show you that there. And then this little switch you see next to it is sort of a safety, so that when it's in your pocket you can flip that closed and then it won't accidentally engage in your pocket. That has to be unlocked before it'll jump out. Blade length, according to SOG, 2.68 inches. I measured it myself. When it starts getting into that, detailed of a measurement, it does get a little sketchy, so I'll just say that looks about right, as best as I could measure it. Overall, it's about 6 3/16 inches in length when it's fully opened. And SOG says it weighs oh, by the way, you might say SOG. I say SOG, just easier for me that way. I've always done it that way, and it's hard for me to break the habit, so I'm not sure which one's right, but I'll say SOG in this review. 2.6 ounces is what SOG says the Twitch II weighs. I put it on my scale and I come out with 2.5 ounces. Kind of wants to wiggle to 2.6, so I'll call it good. I'd say that's nice and accurate. Like I said, I bought it in 2003 originally. I think it cost about $50 when it first came out, and now if you shop around, you shouldn't have any trouble getting one shipped to your door, at least in the US, for probably about $35, maybe $38, under $40. Shouldn't be too much trouble. It does have the all-important, at least these days, everyone seems terribly concerned with it, jimping. It has a little bit on the little kick or flipper, and it has some on the lock. It does not have any where your thumb would rest, but it does have this nice little, is that a little depression? That just feels right. Your thumb just kind of wants to settle right there, and it feels pretty good. So it doesn't really have any texturing there, but I think it results in a good grip. My thumb sits there nicely. Not really any texturing to speak of on the aluminum scales, the aluminum handle. So it's a little slick, but not bad. I get a good, decent grip on this without too much trouble. So, and it's very similar to the Kershaw Leek, at least the stainless series of the Kershaw Leek, and I suppose some of the aluminum handled models, and that it's pretty smooth, but it's never been a problem. Overall fit and finish, pretty darn nice. I really like the look of this knife. It has a very, I don't know, very modern type of design. It's almost kind of futuristic looking to me. I've always liked this layered appearance of the handle. I just think it looks very classy. It's small, and it's smaller than I thought it was going to be. Despite the measurements, I looked online way back in the day when I bought it, and it ended up being a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be. But it's cool. I usually carry much larger folders. Most of my everyday carry folders are 4 inches, 3.5 to 4 inches. So this one's a bit on the small side. But if I'm going someplace where I don't expect to use my knife, you know, very hard, or if I'm just going someplace where I want something a little bit smaller, a little bit lighter and more discreet, this does make a good choice. One of the issues that people have with this knife, and I am one of those people, is the blade centering. You can see there, it's kind of hanging out to one side, and sometimes it'll go to the other side. It just seems to kind of flop around in there, and no amount of tightening the pivot is going to do much to save it, because once you get it tightened down to where it's not scooting around, it doesn't want to flick open very nicely. So I've just learned that with a lot of SOG's folders, you just kind of have to live with it. The lockup on this, it's good, but not great. A little bit of wobble, a little bit of wiggle. When I move it back and forth, you get a little bit of play. That doesn't make me happy, but for this small of a knife that's not going to be a heavy-duty, hard-use knife, I'm not going to condemn it for that. I don't think that it's that big of a deal. So I'll kind of give SOG a pass on that, but depending on your preferences, that lockup and that off-center blade might make you a little bit unhappy. Now, like I mentioned, I think the looks are nice. I think it looks classy, you know, elegant, kind of a gentleman's folder. The clip on it, very similar, like a money clip design. I think it's really classy. It's a strong clip, and it doesn't sit completely, you know, it doesn't absolutely disappear in your pocket, but it sits pretty low, and it's very comfortable. At that 2.6 ounces, you'll just never feel that it's in your pocket until you need it, which is one of my favorite things about any knife. I don't really care too much how low it sits in my pocket, just that I don't really notice it too much. It's not banging against my leg, and it's not wobbling or wanting to squeeze out of my pocket, and this one doesn't. So it gets high marks on that. Full flat grind on the blade. It's got a nice shape to it with some nice fingerprints on there. That's nice. But yeah, full flat grind. It's very small, so I'm not sure how much of a difference that grind, you know, makes. But in this size blade, it makes sense. It's pretty similar to, you know, the size of the blade that you find like on a Swiss Army knife or on a little whittling knife, and I think that full flat grind style makes a lot of sense for its size. It's a satin finish, which is one of my preferred finishes on a knife, so I rather like that finish quite a bit. And as you can see, it's basically a bit of a drop point blade. Very comfortable, small, so that my pinky kind of comes off the back. I don't get as much of my pinky finger on there as I'd like. But overall, I'd say that it's still, despite that, it's still quite comfortable. So I don't know why you'd want it in a reverse grip, but if you did, it sits well. Thumb goes right over the top. But in its basic saber grip, as they say, or natural grip, very functional. One of the things I don't like about this knife, it's not as easy to close one-handed as some others. It can be done. You can see I have to be pretty deliberate in how I do it. But there are other knives out there, even with assisted opening methods, that are just easier to close one-handed. This one's not one of them. So it can be done, but I can do this easier when I'm not on camera, trying to make sure that I'm not cutting myself through the viewfinder. But it can be done, but I wish it was a little bit easier. Maybe if they had scooted the lock mechanism farther up in the handle, it would have made a difference. But it is what it is. All in all, not bad. I would say it's probably good for basic tasks, you know, cutting boxes, opening packages, maybe cutting up fruit, simple stuff. I would not I absolutely wouldn't use it as a hard use folder. I don't have enough confidence in the design and in the build to think that it's going to hold up to heavy daily use. You might, but I just wouldn't bother. I would pick it up if you just wanted something fun and small, bit of a novelty. To me, a lot of the smaller assisted openers are more of a novelty than anything else. I just like knives that are manually opened, because I don't like having to fight that pressure of the spring when you're closing the knife. And I want something that, you know, when you're in public, it opens a little bit softer and a little bit quieter, not quite so authoritative in public. But good basic all-around design I think for most folks. Like I said, as far as my confidence in the blade design and in how it opens and closes, I don't feel like that lock is going to fail me. I don't feel like it's going to close on my hand, but I wouldn't stab it into anything. I'm not going to jam it into wood and, you know, wrench on it. I absolutely would not pry with it. I don't really think people should pry with most knives, but this one, definitely leave your prying tasks to your screwdriver or to a pry bar, or, you know, one of your heavy duty Beckers or something like that. But this one is just going to be for the light stuff. Absolutely disappears in the pocket. Fits great in the back pocket, front pocket, coat pocket. Take the clip off, drop it, you know, all the way down into your pants pocket, and you'd be good to go. You can see there it does have a lanyard hole. Very small. You could probably jam some 550 paracord through there. Maybe use some smaller tether cord or just some, you know, narrower diameter nylon cord, but the 550 might be tough. But it does have that lanyard hole should you want to add one to it. I think it's quite balanced front to back. I think it sits comfortably in the hand. It doesn't really seem to, you know, there's no hot spots, there's no uncomfortable points on it. Nothing seems to kind of grind or rub or abrade my hand in any way, which is very nice. Overall, my opinion on SOG themselves, I'm kind of in the middle. They make some good stuff, they make some not so good stuff. I tend to go with some of the other brands. I tend to lean more towards Kershaw, Spyderco. I think it's just because SOG doesn't have a lot of designs that wow me, and a lot of the knives of theirs that I've tried, that blade play and that lockup is just a little sketchy. And it's not that they're bad knives, it's just that I want, for my money, I kind of usually want a little bit more. So on that note, some similar knives from other companies, one of the most obvious comparisons is going to be the Kershaw Leek. Now the Kershaw Leek weighs a little bit more. You're looking at 3 ounces versus 2.6, but it's got a bigger blade. It's got a 3-inch blade versus that, oh gosh, what do we say, 2.68 on the Twitch II. And between the two, even though the Leek usually runs a little bit more, I would probably, you know, if I had them both to buy again, I'd go for the Leek. I like the size, I like the shape, and I think the lockup and the blade centering typically are going to be a lot more uniform across the board. Would I buy it again? Probably, you know, if I didn't get that screaming deal with it, probably not. I would probably go with something else. Quick little comparison before I end this video. There's a Victorinox Swiss Army knife Tinker, very similar in size, fairly similar in thickness. That Victorinox is a little bit thicker, but real similar. So if you've got one of those larger size Victorinox, you'll know right off the bat how that's gonna feel. There's your Spyderco Tenacious, which is another common folder, so you can kind of get a look at the size comparison. And you know, that's about it. Quick little paper cutting test for you. Cruises right through it, no problem. So, nice blade design, excellent slicer, a little bit of paracord just for fun, goes right through it. So keep it sharp, keep your cutting tasks realistic, and you know, it won't steer you wrong. For the price that they go for, I would say overall it's a pretty good value. Just don't expect a hard use knife out of it, and I think you'll do very well with the SOG Twitch II. Thanks for watching, and hope to post some more reviews soon. Take care. Bye.